Kenny and them, it was if Coach Ken say, Carlos, you're not doing this. Our daddy was the type that can't get his ass out.
Yeah.
You know,
They ain't gonna sit there and say
they're not gonna
that
go
you
against the
wrong.
coach. So I think that was a community in itself because I think basketball is serious. I think it's very serious to our parents, the Ken Clarks, Red Rose and stuff. But I think it created a bond between all men because all of them had the same expectations.
Exactly.
To raise their kids, but also to raise a true athlete.
Group,
You
yeah.
couldn't just be trash or you couldn't just be average. So if my son not doing what he's supposed to, he don't need to be playing, get dressed.
Yeah.
And that was the type of time that I think all parents was on. And I think it brings a good, it brought a good community. Because when you go to AAU games, you see Ken, you see Aaron, you know what I'm saying? So you see all these guys, and it's like, shit, if I don't perform,
Yeah.
he gonna come up to me and say something. Or you gonna come up
Everybody
to me
can
and say
check you.
something. Everybody will check me. Or he reffing the games. So you gotta be on point the whole time. From your mannerisms, yes sir, no sir, how you doing, where your son at? I played with Kenny Lowe's son, I played with Eric Lowe's son for years.
Yeah.
For AAU was wild. Yeah, we used to go, my dad used to make us go to EC games to watch him coach and watch his son play. So every time you come to the zone, you got Kenny Clark, you got Cuz, you got Derek Dunlap. So you see all these guys, you like, and what's another thing is jealousy wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? My dad didn't say, oh, don't talk to Ken Clark.
Yeah.
I'm better than him or he better than me, whatever the case is. It was, whatever he telling you, you better listen.
Listen here, because
Or get on you.
And see the thing like that too, even with Lil Hiram, it's so easy just to put Hiram out there, give him the ball to the rest of the four, just run around in circles and watch Hiram. When I first got into it, I was like, damn, okay, Hiram is something special. My son's a little behind, but we gonna ride Hiram. Hiram's father used to tell me, he said, listen, I will pull my kid if you ever do that again. He said, you don't coach just my child. You coach the other four or whatever else. Because you never know when that child is going to be needed. Because I used to sit there and like, sure, just go. Let Hiram go. Can you get the rebound? Very easy. He said, no, don't do that. And the father had to get to me and come straight and say, I will pull my son if you ever did it again. So it changes your focus to let you know he know what he's got, but he wants the other kids to be just as good. So you start bringing them along, you're gonna have a better team.
Yeah, you gonna mess his son up by doing that too.
Yeah.
As far as mentally, like, you
Yeah.
take him out of the place where, man, you need to be developing other people around you, and trusting other people, and then he grew up thinking, man, I'm just the man. I don't need nobody else, So now you doing more damage than
Exactly.
I have a great question though. Yeah, great question.
Let me say this real quick. I want to get Minister E up to speed. This discussion that we have the first Saturday of the month has started. Myself, Los, Fahim, Ken Clark, and Fool. We was talking about doing it every Saturday, and Ken said, "No, E, it's too much for you working in the shop." And we said, "Let's do it once a month." So Ken said, "Okay, the first Saturday of the month." So we figured we just go talk about community involvement, ministry, basketball game, parenting, whatever's going on in society at the time. And I read about Pastor and Pastor Ricks and Pastor Walker as well, just talking about it. And we said, okay, let's do it this way. So I created a flyer and we just flip it. We'll go off the momentum of the month or the previous month to switch it up a little bit, throw something out there. And your name kept coming up, Man, I'm E in the building. He would just talk about refereeing. Or he would just talk about the ministry itself along with Pastor Walker and Ricks. So that's where I hit you up all the time. Hey man, this is what we looking to do. We would like to have you involved, so forth and so forth. Okay, Jones, I'm ready.
You ready?
To have you involved and boom. So that's how all this just came about. Normally we just bring little snacks and we run probably 10:30, but not 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30. Boom. We'll take a picture and disperse.
But he is a product of the community.
Yes.
Growing up, we watched him grow up, and he brought his son in. And the community, you see, like, we started in Pop Warner back then. You know, and you just, that's how you get to know people. We don't have those events no more. We don't have Pop Warner. We got, I ain't gonna say it's a pitiful case of biddy ball, but we don't have the biddy ball. We Little League is down. You got 2 fields on each side of the city, and you can barely get enough kids to play on one field. You know, where's our community at where Little League Saturdays packed? You know, cars in the parking lot, cars across the street, they playing biddy ball, packed. Pop Warner, packed. We don't have that. You know, that's where you meet the parents. And, you know, you out there on the street. You can see what they're doing. If they got trouble in school, we used to have, my wife's a teacher, she would say, you know, I offer tutoring to blah, 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 whatever. You know, and we ain't trying to embarrass nobody, we trying to raise the kid, you know, to make sure he's raised properly, he sees what's going on.
I'm gonna throw a screwball, because you 3 on the side are educators. You think the parents sometimes are embarrassed to be a present in the kid's life? I'm talking activity-wise, because of past trauma.
No, I think
There was a 10 in high school, there was a 10 in their 20s, and they end up being a 4 or 5 due to pregnancy, due to drugs, whatever it may be. Now, you go ahead and play in the league, and it will never show up.
But
be a part of participation.
That's the parents' fault, because once you leave high school, all that stuff ends. Nobody care about you wearing, you know, Nikes or blah, blah, blah. I can wear Kmart shoes from now until.
But it still carry weight today, though.
Yeah, but see, that's our mentality. We spend the most on clothing and all this other. We the most
flamboyant people.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say this. Like growing up, my mom was not a single parent, but my dad was involved. Now, my mom would be like, "You want a pair of Jordans? I get them. You got good grades. You been doing sports. I get them. I have no problem. I will get you what you need." I'm like, okay. Then my grandma said this to me. She said, "How much do Jordans cost?" I said, $100 He said, "Can't you find me 2 pairs of good shoes?"
Ooh.
For that $100, you get you 2 pairs. She said, "Well, did you wearing this 1 pair all the time?" She said, "Don't you think that's gonna wear out quicker than you having 2 pairs?"
See, I'm gonna go back.
And that's what took me out of the Jordan mode. Now when I was in high school, I don't need them. I'd rather take these 2 Nike Air Force Nuggets.
Come on.
You need a red pair, you need a blue pair. You know what I'm saying? But
See, but when I grew up, I'm
that was my grandma mentality.
gonna show you how old I am. Growing up, like I would say, 1st grade to probably 3rd grade, we wasn't getting no, because the only pair of shoes I was Converse. You wasn't getting no Converse. Eddie took us right down to the corner store with Big Ben. You get 2 for $5. 2 for $5 shoes.
He said, two pairs shoes.
He outfit the whole family for under $20. But I was happy as hell to get them. You know, we went into because Converse, it was Converse and Adidas were like basically, and Pro Kids, they were basically the only shoes, especially playing ball. So when I got 5th and 6th grade, I started learning a little more. Of course, I went to Converse. So you know, you get the grades, you get the Converse. You don't get the grades, you don't get the Converse. We right back at Big Ben, 2 for $5. Now that's when you start to realize that, okay, I got a kind of a status symbol. I can't go back to Big Ben. My boys are Converse, so you gotta get it going.
Yeah.
You know, but you weren't just giving shoes.
No,
You gotta earn them.
Yeah, you wasn't giving nothing.
Go ahead, Cut. What you gonna say?
The question I had was, when y'all kids got of age, basketball wise is just like, when did y'all like get off their backs? Cause for me, shit, he was on my back every 365.
I can't really, I'm still on my son back.
I'm talking about, well, I should go basketball first.
Well, I learned
like he on his own, he got it.
Me and Hiram made a pact. We said when they get to the 9th grade, we took them as far as we could. let him go. And sure enough, when they went to high school, and kind of that's where they started separating a little bit because Hiram went basketball, my son went football. You know, because he was tired of, you know, always, ever since third grade, it was Hiram this, how come you ain't doing like Hiram? So he said, hey, I'm tired of it, let it go. So, freshman year, we let it go. The worst part for me is that I didn't push my daughter more, but she had knee injury. So I couldn't work with her.
Right.
So, but I wish I would have carried her a little further, but she just, 8th grade, she had an ACL, came back freshman year. Sophomore year, she tore another ACL, the opposite knee. So she was, in her mind, she was done. She was scared to move. But coming out of 8th grade, she was one of the top players in Indiana. She was killing. But that took her out. My son just got tired of the comparison. He would have stayed with basketball, but he got tired of that comparison with Hiram, and we was like, okay.
We found another lane.
He found another lane. He went to football, and, you know,
It worked out.
it worked out for him. But you have to let him go, because at some point, and even my son made the statement, he said, I don't know when you're dad or when you're coach.
Man, I swear.
So I said, oh, okay, so you getting confused, I better step back and let you know I am daddy. You know, this sports stuff gonna fade away. But listen, no matter what, I'm here for father.
Yeah.
You know, I'll coach you from up top or whatever, let you know little tidbits. No, number one, daddy. That's my number one thing. You know, that is the hardest thing to separate.
Yeah.
Because he said it follows him home 24 hours. You know, game over, ride home, I'm coaching daddy.
Hey.
Go to eat, coaching daddy.
Daddy.
Go to bed, coaching daddy. I'm like, it's a nightmare for him. So you gotta learn to let him go. But you don't totally let him go. You still coach him.
What's the exciting part, E, that you enjoy the most about your son and his development? I'm talking in life and on the court.
No, for me, you know, I was always a basketball player, so I trained him to play basketball. But with Lil E, what tricked me is that once he got in high school, he started like football. So I was caught between a rock and a hard place, because it's like, man, all our life, I trained you know, shoot the jump shot like me, try to shoot the jump shot like him. He never got it. That's another topic.
That's another story.
So he switched it and started playing football. So it was like, man, you know, I ain't never played football.
I got a question. Was it to avoid you?
No, it's just something he picked up and started liking.
You still
he
come
ended
from
up,
it.
he ended up
It was
playing
too hard, and then
he ended up playing both of them, but he ended up being a better football player than a basketball player. That's just my opinion. So to answer your question about letting go, so then once he started playing football, I still was in his life, still coaching him, still telling him like, hey, you know, work on this, work on that. But then I had to pull back, because I have to see, is it something that he really want to do, right? Because a lot of times we'll push our kids to do something that we want them to do, or what we didn't accomplish, right? So with the basketball thing with him, I was on him so much, and it was like, you know, he came to me one day and was like, you know, Dad, I can't be you. You know what I'm saying? I can't play it like you, even though I was pushing him. So that's when I had to step back a little bit, saying, okay, am I pushing you to do my dream, or I'm pushing you to do your dream, right? So then when I stepped back, he started playing football, and I supported him. And he was a good football player. This is what he was, a decent basketball player. So you have to find out, for me, is what the kid really want to do. Like, if you want to do this, and this is when we put the time, after when we played, you know, we all played. Yeah. We put the time in, right? We was at the gym, we was at the parks, we was hooping, we was playing, we was on competition. And today is like a lot of kids, for me, what I see, as far as when I ref it too, is like, they don't really want it. No. We want it for them.
a lot of
So they say, we want you to be great.
Oh,
We want you to be.
It's supposed to be given to
They're
them.
supposed to be given to them.
Oh, I got a social media
Right.
following, I got
Yes.
this and this,
That
I'm
part.
supposed to be the man.
That part.
So, yeah.
We worked. We was at the park. We was at the park till the lights didn't come on back then. You know what I'm saying? We was playing, but we played all night. We was hooping in the dark. But we really wanted to be something, right? But now these kids, to me, what I see is that we want it for them.
Yeah.
I want you to be great. I want you to be a great player. I want you to do this, but it's like, I don't really want it as bad as you want. You know what I'm saying?
Well, when I was coaching my son, it was like, when you started off playing baseball, everybody in baseball, you start off in the outfield.
Most of the kids, their first year, they put them in the outfield. So I'm teaching him how to play the outfield. So we come to their first practice, and I'm just sitting there watching. And the guy was like, "Hey, fool, you play baseball, man. You want to come help?" Coaching. You know, I don't know how long I'm gonna stay.
Right.
You know, I got every excuse in the world. I had no intentions on coaching nothing.
Right.
Period. He was like, "Man, think about it." So go home. Sound like is you gonna be one of the coaches? Nah, man. No. But I found myself taking him every day, and I'm out there longer and longer. And then one day a ball rolled by me, and I threw it. And he was like, "What position you play?" I was like, "I pitched and played the outfield." He said, "Can you work with my pitches?" And before you know it, I started. I'm coaching.
Yeah.
They got a t-shirt and everything.
Already signed you up.
So,
Right.
it's like now, when we go home, I try not to talk baseball unless he brings it. I know this is my sport, but I don't want him to get sick of this sport. So it's like, we gonna talk baseball if he brings it up.
Right.
And a lot of times, we'll be in the crib, I'm watching something, he'll be like, "You wanna go down and play catch?" All right, come on.
But our biggest downfall is active parents that play the sport. Are we hard on them because you don't, like my problem was, I was hard on my son because when he went to high school, because he wasn't aggressive like I did. In football, he was more laid back, he was a lot bigger than I ever was, but I'm on him like, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. And then Judah pulled me to the side and said, "Why are you yelling at him?" I said, "Because he ain't doing this. I used to do this." He said, "That's not you." He said, and I said, "What?" He said, "That's not you out there." He said, the boy, he's in the correct position. He's doing everything he told him to do. So what you see is not you out there, that's him. So that was a hard thing for me to step back and say, "Wow, that ain't me out there." Because, like I said, I would have done it a different way. I was more, chase down every ball, blah, blah, blah. He was more, he gonna get here and just wait. I'm like, "Oh, get him." He's like, "No, leave him alone. He's doing it." I'm like, it's hard to pull back when you see yourself out there that what you used to do, and he ain't doing it. And that was the biggest pill for me to swallow. I was like, he was doing it, but he wasn't doing it my way.
Right.
That ain't Kenny Clark out there, going out the quarterback, swinging him up against the fence or something. He was more passive, but he had everything that I didn't have. He had size, he was 6'4", 240. I was 6'2", 180, playing the same position. Yeah.
So you had to have a little bit more.
I had to.
Since you brought that up, we have a history in our community of our athletes going away and come back and blame the white man for lack of. Ken, if you had an athlete right in front of you that's going to go off to college, what message would you give him? Then coach food and then eat and pass the windows.
First of all, like you said, what this meeting is about, get them books.
Okay.
You gotta stay in the books, because if you don't stay in the books, you're not gonna play. No matter how good you are, then if you ain't gonna play, where you gonna be at? You're coming back home. So it's a full circle, and I would tell you, when you go out there, like just imagine, say Dom. Okay, Dom leaving here with, accolades and everything else. When you get to college, you gotta step it up. So you're not playing just the local neighborhood kids anymore, people just walk off the street, blah, blah, blah. I say now in college, you playing all Americans, all states, and these guys are a lot tougher. And if you mentally ain't prepared to get in there and grind, you ain't gonna do it. And you got, it's not just I'm going to college, blah, blah, blah. You got to be ready, because I'm telling you, when I went for football, like I said, at 180, I walked over there with the defensive backs, and the coach pulled me and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm over here." He said, no, those defensive backs. You over here with the defensive end. I looked at that and I said, the defensive backs were at 220.
Dang.
I'm over here, I'm with the ends at 270. That's when the ends were bigger.
Yeah.
So I'm looking like, God damn, you do only me about 100 pounds. But like I said, I had eagerness weight didn't matter to me. I got out there and did what I had to do. But that's the hardest part, is making that adjustment to the next level mentally. So you gotta prepare yourself.
Like I said earlier, I would say surround yourself with positive people. Because now at the college level, with them getting this money now,
Yeah.
it's more of a business now.
Yeah.
It's no longer about that kid. Because now where you have the AAU coaches, on these kids, to the point where, okay, I'm gonna get this kid in the league, da 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 da. Now this kid is a millionaire before he gets to the league.
Come on.
This kid's a millionaire now coming out of high school.
Share that.
And that's I don't know about y'all, but we're coming from 100 now, 100 now to a million now, and now you got it. And then the killing part, when you're in college, it's on you.
Yeah.
It's on you.
Ain't nobody checking
So
on you.
now, whereas that you had this AAU coach hunting this kid to get him in the league, hey, I ain't hunting him to get him in the league now. I'm hunting him to get him in college.
Yeah.
Hey. So you gonna have to surround yourself with positive people.
Jacoby.
And again, you always want to surround yourself with people that's better than you. When I say better, in a better place than you. So if all of my people around me is successful, it's only a matter of time before I get there. And it's just like having a kid that's okay playing basketball. This kid be okay, but every day he playing with some cold guys.
Yeah.
Every day he practicing and playing with some cold guys. But when he started off, he was just okay. How long you think it'll be before he become
It rubs off
one
on
of
you.
them cold guys? Because he surrounded himself with people that was better. And I can understand that when we was coming up, when I got to like 10 years old, the guys in the hood used to, hey, you ain't playing with them no more.
Step up.
Nah, come on over here. We play with the 14, 15-year-olds over here. Man, y'all ain't gonna pass me the ball. You can get the ball in.
Yeah.
The ball in. So that means I got to go rebound. But it taught you that no matter how, basketball is basketball. At one time, basketball becomes just basketball because it has no age difference. See, basketball is like the only game where skill really matters. Now, you take a high school kid playing football, you can't put him in the NFL.
Yes.
Kid get killed. Now, baseball, you got some high school kids that go into pro, but they don't go to the major leagues. They go to the farm system. They get to see it, but whereas in basketball, you can be a freshman and you can destroy a senior.
For real.
Because it's based on skill. And if your mentality is just as strong as your skill,
It's over.
sky's the limit for you.
For sure. That's real.
So yeah, with college becoming more of a business now,
Yeah.
you gonna have to, these kids at the high school level gonna have to surround themselves with business people. That's gonna be really positive for them.
Teach them finance. That's what they need to learn.
Because see, now you really got to stay in school and do what you're supposed to do. Because you don't want to get cheated out your money in college. You'll never get to the pros.
Now, I don't want to change the question. Eve.
No, go ahead.
I want to kind of. So that's my oldest right there. So he got to be 17, right? So my assumption I got adult
Yeah.
too, right? So, and we talked a little bit like next level. When I think the question was a little bit like, okay, when you know how to back off, or in sports, and then even in life, and how much the next level is. Like I said, you go to college, that's on you, you know.
Yeah.
So, I guess my question is like, how do we balance, coaching them and bringing them up while they in our house? Like, what are some of the things that that we have to make sure we put into the kids so that when they do go out of your house or they become a young man or they go off to college to try to do what you're trying to do, what are some of the things that we must be putting into them, right? So that they can, not sports wise, but like you just said, finance or all this, some of these other traits that we need to be instilling. Hey.
The fear of God.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey.
Cause long as the kid respects, has the fear of God in it, he's gonna be all right. Like my mother-in-law, when they got to high school, she bought them a Bible. Said, keep this with you. My son went through high school, went through college. As soon as he moved back here, first thing he pulled out, I still got it, Dad.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So they know when trouble comes, open that book. You can find the answer right there.
Come on now.
And for him to do it, I was proud. That was my proud moment. He played football. I wish he would have played in college, but blah 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 happened.
Right.
But he got his degree. Yeah, I'm proud of that. But I was proud that he made it through, and he still hit his book.
Yeah. That's real. I mean, because we know the odds of becoming a professional athlete is, you know what I'm saying. We want them to aspire to do that, but like I said, some of them go out to college and they find out the hard way that, hey man, I'm not gonna be one of them ones to get my name called, right?
Yeah.
But then, but they screwed around in college, or they screwed around, you know what I'm saying? So they didn't pick up the things that they should have been picking up, right? Because life gonna continue on, right? After your verde, what it used to be, you know what I'm saying? You got to go out here and make a living. You got to go out here and raise a family, do all these different things, and so, and I just think I always go back to which already been said, so I don't want to rehash it, but just the importance of, fatherhood and passing to your children. I got 6 boys, and I kind of had this same kind of form. He was there. We had a kind of special night for my oldest, but just thinking like, man, I understand as a father that I don't know everything. Right?
Oh yeah.
You're right. I don't know everything.
It's only learn as you go.
And so this type of stuff is invaluable to me because I only got my lived experiences, and so, but I understand that the value of community, the value of having other fathers, other men, other people with experiences to kind of pour, even pour into me, so that I can pour in to them, and I think equipping them with just the real life scenarios and things is what's gonna benefit them the most, because going back to community, it's like one day they gonna be the community, right? You know what I'm saying? So one day he gonna have children, right? And after a certain point in time, it's like, okay, when you lay off of, something like, hey, my dad ain't never let off.
No, you don't.
But the reality is that they are what's coming next. You know what I'm saying? They say you know how good. I ain't got to that point yet, but you know how good a father you was by how your grandchildren turned out.
Yeah.
Right? Because what you put in your son, how much of it's gonna be replicated in what he puts in his son, right? So you can't really judge a man on how good he was as a father until you see, the results of what you put in him.
And I understand what you're saying, because my son did the same thing. What you got to do too is you let him make a mistake, let him hit his head, and see how he responds.
Key point right there.
He did. My son did the same thing. He went the first year of school, first semester. All his friends had started flunking out already. He getting in his head. Well, I don't want to be here by myself. No, I don't get that.
Yeah.
Your friends will be down back at home, but you're gonna be here. So he admitted the first semester. He said, "Dad, I didn't do nothing. I didn't go to class. I stayed here, smoked my weed, whatever, blah blah blah." I said, "Okay." I said, "When did it click?" He said, "That second semester when y'all kept coming back and telling me you wouldn't come home." So he said, "Well, I gotta get my act together, cause if they not gonna let me back home, I mean, I gotta have something. I gotta find somewhere to go.
Well, we go.
So he said, okay, well, second semester, he was on probation, but he got out of it. But it's that thought that you gotta let them bump their head and see when that money ain't coming in, like, you know, sending that check every other week, and you sitting there, you got $20 last you for a month.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, if I don't get these books right, they ain't gonna send me nothing.
Right.
So he's gotta learn, at some point, it's gotta click to where all the things that you taught him is gonna come into play and say, like I said, his biggest problem was letting his friends go. They failed, you didn't. You know, just because they went home because they couldn't cut it? No. You got better options. You know, I ain't blaming the parents, I'm like, but we going your support system is much stronger.
Strong.
Yeah.
And
And that's what get them through that support system.
Yeah. when you got the neighborhood behind you, you know, and like I say, sometimes, you know, they think you let them in the neighborhood, they run around with their friends, blah, blah, blah. And you'll get a call, hey man, you know your son out here? Like, okay, yeah, thanks for looking out for him. You know, they just let you know that they seen your son and he wasn't doing nothing crazy.
Right, yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
Or if he is doing something crazy, you snatch him up.
Right.
And that's what it is. It's just it's hard to see it. Like at his age,
Yeah.
you ain't gonna see nothing but, you know, he a high school kid running around, blah, blah, blah. The next level is when he's gonna learn to say, you know, I'm out here by myself, my parents don't care, ain't out here. These teachers don't care if you go to class or not.
Yeah.
You know, so like you said, he just sat up in there and did his thing.
Man, don't get to a school where you got a ratio of 4 to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you.
Hey, that comes into play.
But food, first night we dropped him off. We got him up in his room, blah, blah, blah. So I say, we're gonna go get some supplies, you know, go down to Walmart. We go down to Walmart, we come back. It's dark now. We're like, girls walking around in their pajamas. I'm like, what happened? They say, he said, well, Dad, just give me the stuff and you go back to your room. I'm like, wait a minute. I say, what happened? He said, it's gonna be a pajama party already the first night. I'm like, cause when we got back, there wasn't no parents around. We were like the last parents to come through this. I'm like, I'm like, oh God. I pulled him to the side. I say, do you need anything? He said, no, I'm good. I said, you better be. I didn't send you down here to bring no babies back. When you go down there and it's that open, I'm like, when I got dropped off, wasn't none of this around when I had to beg them, find somebody. They having parties already the first night.
Yeah, hey man, you get down there, I mean, you get to the school where it's like 4, 5, 1. You know you're not finna strike out.
Oh, heck no. and it's all new.
And the first week I was in school, it was a total party. And man,
Sheets and that's it.
Yeah. Some sheets, and they had the makeup punch. That was Everclear grape juice. Woo! That was grape juice. And I say by everybody second and third cup, them sheets got to drop.
Hey, but that's cause I'm glad I went to like predominantly white school at first up in Bemidji, Minnesota. Well, none of that for me to change it. I'm like, I didn't like white women,
Right.
so it didn't bother me. I'm like, man, but if I would have went to Alcorn like I was supposed to my first year, I think I'd still be down in the South. Them girls them country girls will take care of you. You know? But yeah, it's just a growing process that they gotta learn on their own, and it's what you teach them to make them grow. You know, not everybody can go to college and be successful or whatever, but you still can be productive in your neighborhood. You know, that's the main thing that counts. You know, you teach them, don't look down on nobody.
You proposed a good question when you said, what do you teach them when you're in the house with them until they get older, right? Then I asked a question about the basketball situation, but for me, I think it's just teaching them good morals, teaching them about the Bible, like you said, teaching them about prayer, teaching them about, you know, the right things to do and the wrong things not to do. right? So keep your mind focused, stay disciplined and stuff like that, and then once they become grown, they know what you taught them, even though sometimes they may stray away and do their own thing. But they remember the base of what you taught them, and then they eventually come back to what was taught. So I would just say, teach them the right things, morals about the Bible, about prayer, about, things to do, what not to do. And then I would say living their life in front of them. And a lot of our children, they watch us.
Yeah.
Because we're the men, right? And they watch us. So they watch us when we go through trouble, how we handle it. Do we handle it fussing and cussing? Or do we handle it by praying? Or do we handle it by, woosah, whatever we do, right? So then they watch us, so it's like living that life in front of them. You see what I'm saying? Because especially the boys, they watch us.
Yeah.
My son always watching.
Yeah, that was
How I handle things.
That was me,
Dad, how
man.
did you handle that? Yeah, what did you do in that situation? When a situation come along, the first thing he'll do, he'll watch it.
Yeah.
So if I handle it the right, sometimes I handle it the wrong way.
Right.
And I have to go back, hey son, that ain't the way you handle it. I was in my feelings, I was in my emotions. I apologize.
Right.
Then when I handle it the right way, he like, oh, that's how you handle situations. So they watch it. So just like try your best to live that life in front of them, a positive life in front of them, right?
That was me, man. I didn't have no, like, my dad, my dad was my dad.
Right.
But he wasn't in the house, and he was around, I had them nights where I'm coming to get you and I'm falling asleep in my clothes and he don't show up, and so. Yeah, so, like really, I think somebody mentioned it earlier about having a kid kind of saved them or like got them, that's what he was for me, so I'm like, I'm 19 and I'm thinking about all the just, as a teenager, young man, you think about all the places where you feel like your parents let you down, or they didn't do this, or they didn't, you thinking about that. And I'm like, man, I don't wanna do that to him, so it really grew me up. And just exactly what you said, I vowed to be, I hate, do as I say, not as I do, right? And so, whatever it is I try to instill in them, I wanna be it, right? You know what I'm saying? And it really grew me up because I'm like, he was born, it took me like 6 months to stop cursing, right? And it wasn't even no God thing or nobody. I'm just like, okay, man, do I want, one day I'm gonna tell him, he need to watch his mouth, right? And so, by God's grace, right? Ain't none of them ever heard me say a curse word. A lot of people can't say that. And I ain't gonna say I'm better than nobody, but that was one of the things that I'm like, okay, if I want something to come out of my children, I want to be able to be the example. God just so happened to give me 6 boys. I can't have a girl to save my life, right? But it's like, okay, I think that's huge, and that's one of the things I want to bring up, man. It's like being what you want them to be, and that causes us to have to raise our character, whatever it is that we supposed to be doing. And that's why a lot of guys, some guys become absentee fathers because they realize, man, I ain't got it, right? Or I ain't got it.
Being a daddy is hard, man.
I ain't got it.
Don't underestimate that job. That's a hard job because what you like to say, you worried about what you're leaving behind.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you don't want to leave a negative anything like my daddy did.
Right, yeah.
So it should be okay.
Right.
And I think that you have to draw that line too. Even now, like my son is 28. We cool, but he ain't my friend.
Right, yeah.
I tell him all the time, I say, we cool. I don't drink no more, so I never drank with him. So I'm not trying to hang out with him. But I told him, I said, we can go to a movie, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I said, but if come to the end of the day, if you screw up still, I'm gonna bust that.
Yeah.
You gonna get it.
Yeah. I'll be better, right?
And cause I can remember my father, he was never a friend or close to it. Everything I do is because I'm a daddy.
Right.
I say, all right, I can live with that.
And that's one of the problems from the old generation to this generation, right? Because our parents weren't our friends.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what to do, you're gonna do it. Or
That was it.
these days we got the parents that smoking with the kids, drinking with their kids, going to the club with their kids.
Yeah.
So now when you try to discipline them,
Right, hey, that's big.
you're my friend, you're not my parent. We cool like that.
Right,
And that's the big totally difference between parenting
Yeah.
then and now. Our
Hey,
parents,
look,
I told
how
me to
can I-
clean that room up when I get back, that room better be cleaned up.
Yeah, how can I be your father when I'm buying weed from you?
You know what I'm saying?
Does that make sense,
Yeah,
man?
then you got some parents that drink with their kids.
Yeah,
Smoke with their kids.
Now you
Go to the club
gonna
with
tell
their
me
kids.
clean my
You know
room.
what I'm saying?
Daddy, here,
Cussing
take this and
kids,
smoke
yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right, we'll get it
Crazy
later.
conversation with their kids. So then now you want to discipline, they looking at you like you my buddy.
My equal.
We cool like that.
Well, equal,
Like,
man.
we ain't cool, I'm still your parent, but you gotta set that standards between, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a parent, I'm daddy, I'm mama. I don't play them kind of games. You go play them games with somebody else. And that's the difference between the old school and kind of the new school in a sense.
Yeah.
But the basketball question about what you'll say to an athlete when they leaving off is just, y'all two said something, all three of y'all said something very positive. Like, teaching them about the word of God, praying, you saying, having somebody in their life that you know they can depend on and call and stuff like that, and all that's very important. But I would tell them, you know, you gotta keep working. See, the problem, and all of us in Chicago, so we know that our East Chicago kids, we tell them how good they are.
Yeah.
Too early.
You good, you this,
Too
you that,
early.
and they stop.
Too early.
They stop
Too early.
working on their game, they stop going to the
That-
gym.
that's the
They
biggest
stop
thing.
exercise, they stop running, they stop lifting weights, because I done told you how cold you is, right? We, and he know, we done had a lot of, y'all know too, we had a lot of people come to Chicago that was good.
Yeah.
That was cold. E-Time, you know, they argue about who the best. I mean, he got the best resume. I say, I love E-Time, he got the best resume. But I don't think he's the best player or a talent. He got the best resume out of anybody.
Hands down.
But when we talk about
Was he
guys
the
like
most
Woody
talented
Bucket,
to come through it?
we
No.
talk about guys like Marlon Anderson, we talk about guys like
Yeah,
Robert
Marlon.
Battles, when we talk about guys like Cramp, we talk about guys like Tony Harris, Drake Morris, a lot of guys that was talented, Delmar Johnson,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Charles Ricks, Judah Parks,
Terry Irving.
Coco.
Yeah, to get my boy out.
We got a lot of them that was real talented, but he talks about father best resume.
Yeah.
He's good. His resume is outstanding, like outstanding.
And you know the thing about
But this,
Eastwine,
when you get to
he
college,
wasn't
you keep
flashy.
working.
He wasn't flashy. Eastwine was a steady growth.
Get it
And-
done.
Steady
and
growth.
you didn't see all that. Yeah.
True.
My
You
father
know-
best, the resume on.
But like you
Okay,
said,
on that point, what you saying, I know you got all y'all coaches, right? You a coach, y'all coach, right? On that point. Okay, now, not to change the conversation, it's serious, I was talking about it on the job. Shador, what'd you think about that, all that? Now, you know, that's dangerous, man, because you gotta teach your kids
be humble.
right there, man. You know, and I got cussed out, man. Oh, man, you taking it the wrong way, Joe. I said, no, man. It's just like, you own a company. You gonna hire me.
Yeah.
You don't want to see me coming in there with gold changes and talking crazy. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be like, whoa.
See,
So you think
that's
I think
a
it's
double
some
standard.
side, yeah.
Because you taking on your
Dion-
you doing what you was raised in.
Dude, come on, man. At the end of the day, you own the company.
Yeah.
You own the company. You own $1 billion company. What do I look like coming there thinking I own your company?
Because that's the attitude he was raised in.
I'm not gonna say he had that attitude. I'm gonna say this. And what he was bringing to the table, what I'm bringing to the table, what he bringing to the table, hey, I'm not like everybody else. So you're not gonna treat me like everybody else.
Yeah, he got the experience.
I'm different.
But at the end of the day,
I'm different.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even think it was so much him and his gold chains. I think it was more geared towards his dad.
Yep.
A slap in the face to his dad.
yes?
You're not the Mannings. You're not finna do this.
Yep.
You're not Archie Manning. You're not finna do this. That's what me personally, I think it was a slap in the face to beat
It
him.
was.
I think so too. I
Because
believe so too.
for the quarterbacks that they
I don't
took in
think-
front of him,
Yeah, I don't think you look at it.
it only one should have been in front of him.
Cam Ward.
That was Cam.
If you look at Shador,
That was Cam.
if you look at Shador from a talent standpoint, he's very talented. So
but your arrogance still can get you knocked out, bro. I'm telling you. You got to come, he just said you got to come in humble, man.
Yeah, I mean, we know
I
who
think
you
we
are.
know- there you
but
go.
humble
We know
yourself
who
and
you
get
are.
the job,
How
then
can
bring
you come in?
bring that
How can you
attitude.
come in humble? Well, what is your definition of humble? If I'm coming in here and I'm looking at everybody, I'm the best one for the job. I should get it. I'll put in the work. If we just look at the work resume, I should be there.
Yeah, he changed college football.
I should be there.
Well,
You holding something. Honestly, I believe they did that as a slap in the face to
Yeah,
Dion.
that was for Dion, but you still
I
gotta
get what
come
you're saying,
in.
come in humble.
Yeah,
You right.
you can't tell a billionaire
Did he
what
really
to do with his money.
Hey, but understand this.
Get the job and show him.
Understand this. That kid was a millionaire coming into a billionaire business.
and that's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Really, this is where we headed, right?
Yeah.
Because now we got NIL, we got all these kids not coming in the door,
Yeah.
scrapping, trying to buy their mama a house now.
I was gonna say,
He
did
changed
did you see the draft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody had a chain on.
Right,
But
I'm looking like,
I think he
These
changed
dudes-
though. I think he changed the whole football narrative.
Right.
But from a Shador from a marketing standpoint.
Right.
Because he
but his daddy
went
was the
from-
biggest market.
Yeah.
Your dad is the biggest market.
right, I
But-
understand that.
You gotta think about it though, he broke records. Shador ain't just say this my daddy and I'm just
Right, yeah.
I'm just a player. He actually broke records.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
With the
saying.
JSU and
Looking
broke
at his resume, and every quarterback that was took before him, other
You
than
can't
Cam,
say he
should've
one
been
of, he going 1 or 2. And then because you're not humble,
You are
I mean, I think.
that don't make no
And
sense.
then-
It does. He supposed to win 2 or 1.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
He
saying,
should have went 2 or 1.
Here's the
I'm
thing,
saying-
at some point, which I agree with what he's saying, right? A couple things is you gotta understand that ain't no position in sports like a quarterback, right?
Right.
Like the quarterback
The most
is
high-profile position.
right
For sure.
and you the face of literally $1 billion franchise,
Yeah.
right? And so you gotta act accordingly. 2 is his skill does go before him. His
Yeah.
records does go before
Yeah.
him. And so at some point you need to let that do the talking instead of this, right?
But how when he's
I'm a
already
millionaire
Right.
already.
Yeah, you're right.
He
And
used
so
the pressure already.
right. So even like the same thing just a couple years ago with LeBron's son, you know, right? His abilities wasn't all there,
No.
but all the pressure that's been on this kid for whatever, you know, he got to be a outstanding young man, you know what I'm saying? And so there's some things that you just got to, no matter how big and bad we are, right? We got to understand that we come. I heard one guy put it. You finna be somebody employee, right? Right. You so you may have.
we
may
talk
have.
like see that's
Right.
the big difference.
Yeah.
We is taught to be limitless.
Yeah.
Because you gotta think about it, we're
Right.
limited. You just said we're taught to be an employee.
Well, that's what they come in as though as an employee.
So for
Anybody,
so
whoever.
for years, hundreds of years.
Right.
So you saying we supposed to perform for this team.
Yeah. That's
But we can't
everybody that's out there doing that.
but we can't be ourselves.
Here's the thing.
We can't be ourselves. So we have to be something they want us to be.
At the end of the day, and this is why I get frustrated with you know, sometimes the black thought that we have.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't care how individually great you are as a people, we not in a position to do nothing, right?
True.
If the NBA, if the NFL, we the one who make them all the money, right? But we don't own nothing, right? And so you got to play your role until you can do that.
On your own.
When you
You
own
be-
your own,
There you
now
go.
you can
Slave mentality.
Like, you know, like
You ain't gonna never get that. You'll
like
get
Ice
percentages.
Cube, like Ice. This is my first, like Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Ice Cube go, he make the big 3, right?
Yeah.
In my brain, if I'm an NBA player, right, I know they limited how they can move because again they work for the NBA, right?
Yeah.
But that's the type of stuff that we need to be getting behind, right? Because
Right.
that's our own thing, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you've been given all these millions of dollars, all this platform, right? But what happens is we start to use it for ourselves, right? And then we don't want to take the sacrifice it's gonna take, right, to build something for our own self, right? And so until we ready to make the sacrifices, right, to do that, then we gotta be quiet. We gotta march to their drum. Right?
So-
You can't. You cannot. It ain't yours, man. It just ain't ours. And it's not a slave mentality. It's the reality of what's going on.
It's slave mentality to me.
Your point of him.
I'm the master. You my slave.
Right.
You dance the way I want you to dance, or we gonna kick you out the league.
But it's theirs though, because guess what? If it was ours, we would do the same thing.
But
If they came out trying to run the place, we'd be like, look, this ain't
We
this
set
ain't
up,
ours.
we know that.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's raised
Differently.
at our house with Dion
Yeah.
is the most,
Yeah.
and I love Dion, man.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
do
say
too.
that he arrogant, but I'm saying
I do too.
he's more like,
He
you know,
backed it up,
confident,
right?
he's cocky in himself or whatever it is.
But-
So he's raised like that, so you tell
So we
somebody.
teach our kids that.
You tell somebody that's been raised in a household like that, now to become humble.
Now y'all coaches,
He don't understand what you're saying.
Y'all coaches, y'all got kids,
He
y'all got
still
sons.
understand till he dies.
But do y'all teach our sons that? Now, you saw what you saw there. How
think
that
it's
man have more
confidence.
integrity. Do you teach your sons?
I think it's
If
confidence.
that was my son, I'm gonna tell him. I'm
I wanna know.
Just
I
like
got
I
girls.
said.
I got 2 girls.
I'm gonna tell him just like that. Look, so you could be the biggest, baddest thing on the planet, bro.
Yeah.
But on that field is where you do all your talking, right? And you display whether we agree with it or not. He ain't played one NFL game.
Right, that's not his fault.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, how many athletes you know from college they the man, right?
Right.
Then they go to the pros,
They don't become nothing.
it don't work
but
like
you know
that,
what?
right? And so no matter how great he is, he ain't played one NFL game.
It's
So
a
we
double
can think about him
standard.
being it is. But that's what I'm saying. We got to deal with reality.
There you go.
The
Think about it.
reality
Deal with
is
reality.
there is a double standard.
This ain't the first time.
Eli Manning can say, "Hey, I ain't going over here." Guess what?
Exactly.
He still had
And-
however many career and did what he got to do.
But
People that look like me and you can't walk in the door like that.
But
And
see,
that-
that's the problem.
That's limited.
it is,
Everybody,
but it's not ours.
Everybody-
That's what the reality is. I know it ain't fair,
Yeah,
but that's the
look,
reality.
everybody drafted is based on potential.
Right. Yeah.
But Bo Jackson was the only person I
That's
seen
normal.
that came
Normal,
out
yeah.
and was what he was.
Right.
I remember when he was named Bosworth. Bosworth came out, he's supposed to be this big man runner. Bo Jackson came over, his career was downhill. They found out he wasn't a steroid.
I did this.
You based on your potential.
He all doing this.
Dion was based on his potential. He did prove himself in the pros. Shador is being based on his potential. He's got to prove himself. Yeah, he haven't played it down, but he's the same as Johnny Manziel coming in.
Right.
Yes, yes.
And he
But hold on.
showed me the money.
He was
doing
great.
all that.
No, that's the difference.
Yeah,
We don't
but-
say that about John.
No,
But that's the
We
double
don't say
standard.
that about Tim Tebow.
That's the double standard.
It's a bunch of folks that again, when we talking about a position, right?
Right.
There are certain attributes that an NFL quarterback they must possess because of the nature. It ain't another position in sports like it, right?
Right.
And so, the mold, we talking about the mold. We don't see the pattern or the mold that's been set out down. It may be somebody coming along the line. Maybe Shador gonna do it. I don't know, but we don't see a mold where that type of behavior leads to success, right? And so I can't be mad at an NFL owner that say, "Hey man, I ain't never had a quarterback." Like that's a wide receiver trait. Like the wide receivers, they come out, they
But
flash
they
or
have.
whatever.
Johnny Manziel was the same way.
Yeah, where's Johnny Manziel? That's
But he went first.
That's what I'm
He
saying.
went first.
You went first.
That's what I'm saying.
But he got drafted.
Well, he got drafted, but where is he at today? This wasn't even that many years ago.
That's because of the decisions that he made when he had.
What I'm saying, and the owners of these franchises saying, if you coming out in this manner, you might get a shot, you might get your guaranteed contract, but I'm looking for somebody. If you drafting a quarterback first round, you looking for somebody gonna be there 10, 15 years, right?
Okay,
That's what you're looking for.
From day one, every black quarterback from the beginning,
Yeah, they are.
James Harris, Pittsburgh Steelers, we breaking the mold. Cause every time we step on the field, we doing something different from what they used to.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Remember, all the white quarterbacks,
Yeah,
stop, and they'll take a beating because they're not leaving their pocket.
yeah,
We don't have to leave.
Randall Cunningham came in.
Right.
He dropped back. Oh, y'all coming at me? He do his
I
thing.
got it.
Choo, he gone.
Yeah.
Mike Vick.
They looking at that. They like,
yeah,
he ain't supposed to be doing that.
yeah.
Mike Vick came in. He was
$100
fastest
million.
person on the team.
Right. But guess what he had to do first? He had to get on the roster and get on the field and show it on
And
the
so
field.
what, yeah.
But the thing is, they limit us because they think we breaking their mold of
Yeah,
what
that's it.
quarterback
He's
is.
doing
They
exactly
don't-
what
we do.
They wanted him to stay back there and take
Yeah.
a beating like
He doing
everybody
exactly,
else.
but he doing exactly what his did.
But what I'm
So
saying,
it ain't like it's a different
you
thing.
gotta understand this, Shadua wasn't raised in the city like us.
No,
Right,
no.
yeah,
Hey, he
This
got-
normal.
This is, he came from money.
This
Yeah.
is
He
normal.
came from money.
But you got
So
our
it's not
kids,
about- it's
but
not-
you got our kids looking at that. So they'll think that's right to do.
Right.
Come on, man.
And that's gonna come
Social
up, there ain't
media-
got no money
Social
coming
media
in.
is killing our kids, man.
Yeah.
So if I got boys, so my son looking at that thinking that's all right to do.
Well, that's how you
You
do
see
it.
what
They
I'm
want to
saying?
show.
That's not right,
Like
man.
what he's saying, they want to show the change. They don't show the hours he put in. Cause when he on the field, he performs.
Yeah.
And I like this. You know, he
If it's just about his team, hell yeah, everybody got drafted.
Yeah, they all had it.
Hey,
They
Diamonds.
making a big
White
deal
or
because
black?
it's him.
Everybody.
I don't care about the diamonds,
Yeah.
man. I don't care about what he have. I'm looking at how he was speaking, how he was talking.
But listen,
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So
That don't say that was a warning.
Okay, it's a very thin
Oh
line
man, talk
between.
people's arrogant, bro.
It's a very thin line between confidence and arrogance.
Yeah.
It's a very
For
thin
some
line.
people, you're gonna be on
It's a very
one
thin line.
of the other side.
Depending on who looking at you, depending on how I feel about you, I'm gonna say it's arrogancy or it's confidence. But when you know your craft and you sure about your craft and you done put the time in, that kid got the right to feel the way he feel.
He
Because
does.
don't know,
He does.
He does.
don't nobody see the work. We see the glitz and the glamour, the highlights.
Right. No, he working. He working.
Hey, you think he ain't been working since he was 3-4 years old?
No, he working. I ain't-
I'm not knocking this man.
This what he's been working towards. This was
day one.
day
That
one.
one, I get it.
So
I get it.
now that I'm here, what I'm not supposed to celebrate me? Hey,
But y'all gotta,
This-
he
this
was
is-
raised
Man, y'all don't
differently.
get, man, you don't get it, man. We don't have the opportunities these white folks do, bro. We don't have it. So that means
we don't have
we
it.
don't have it.
We did.
So no.
You see how much of an opportunity you had if they draft in the fifth round.
We don't have it.
Yeah.
So you've been to college.
Yeah.
So when you go to college, you got to read your book.
For all that
Them
you
white
got.
folks ain't got to read their book.
They never
You
do.
went to college, you had to read and study and read that book, man. Them cats out, them white folks got stuff. Here you go. Answers all. But you had to read that book.
Yeah, I used to hate that shit, man.
I'm telling you, man, we don't get the
You struggling for a
opportunities,
test
man.
better, they gonna be, they got the answers right here.
Wait. So this the main question.
So we can't mess up. So we
You right, we
So
can't
you
mess up.
so it's not about you saying us then.
right.
That make us
the main
better.
question is-
It is
I'm
about,
with that.
that's
I'm
what it
with
was.
that.
It wasn't about his talent, it was about us.
So do we lay down?
No,
No.
we ain't
What
supposed
do we
to-
do though? Cause you gotta change the narrative. What do we do?
You got your
And
name.
people say fight,
Yeah.
then when we do fight,
Yeah.
oh, he's being arrogant.
That-
So what do we do?
That's-
You
this
got
is
your
like
name
life.
called, you gotta show up. That's how you shut him up.
That's it.
Then, like after this year, he's the 5th quarterback on the list, I think. When he comes in, if your work
performs?
is always gonna outperform your mouth.
Yeah.
But see,
If you ain't got it,
this how they hurt him. They hurt him because now you're a fifth round pick.
then they hurt him.
They hurt him.
He's a millionaire.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about Fonz's this NFL thing. Because now you ain't getting the reps that the second round in football you need reps, right?
Yeah.
You got to have the opportunity, especially unlike any other position, the quarterback position. The quarterback position, it's only so many reps on the. It's 3 or 4 wide receivers out there running routes.
But
Guess what? How many quarterbacks it is out there throwing the ball?
When-
One.
Quarterback, when you get on that field as a quarterback, yeah, if you're the last man on the pole, you can get the least reps.
That's it.
But when your time comes, when
Right.
okay,
you gotta-
everybody goes through because that's okay.
He's
Watson's
first
gonna be
now.
first,
He's
blah 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 blah
first.
blah. When it comes to that 5th position, you get back there and you show how accurate you are.
Right.
You show you can read, you know your plays.
Right.
You show all that, they gonna say, okay, well, maybe we
Well,
make a mistake.
okay, you see,
And your skills go outweigh, cause the other 3 quarterbacks that have ain't as talented, I
Right,
don't
yeah.
think.
Yeah,
So
I
your-
think he gon'
all you gotta
rise
do
to the
is-
top, but
When like everybody always say, pressure bursts the pipe.
Yes, sir.
Right.
When you get out
and
there,
so if it's in him, it's
and,
gonna come out.
and you got like a Miles Garrett chasing you, and you throwing the ball like this,
Yeah.
oh, you going to the bench. Shador, get out there. All right,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Okay, well he can deal with the pressure.
Yeah.
He's already dealt with the pressure.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know who mentored him? Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady. Now, can you get a quarterback better than Tom Brady?
So he been working. So I ain't taking none of that. I ain't taking none of that away from him. But you got to know how to move. You know? And as black men all sitting here, when none of us argue with the reality is that you got to know how to move in this world, right?
Right.
And sometimes you can move inappropriately, right? But you can shoot it too early. You
This
can
is
shoot
our
the ball too
mindset.
early.
This is our mindset. We dealing on a level that's down here. This man is used to dealing on a level.
I understand.
His moves are with Tom Brady.
I
His
get it.
moves are with Michael Vick.
I get it.
He's
Listen,
on,
for
he's
all
on that
that-
level already ahead of
So
us.
let's take-
All
okay,
that,
let's take that out.
For all that, he got drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah,
That's
but-
fine, though. I'm saying.
You
That's
can't
fine.
just-
So
that's
what
in
they,
the 5th round because of his last name.
Because
But
that's
it's
what,
di-
'cause they
but
trying to
it's-
teach him a lesson. That's
I think
why.
it's deeper than that though.
And they trying to
Because-
say, no matter how good you are, we still got the keys to the car.
And that's fine though. So we either sit back or we step forward. There's only
Exactly.
two things you can do. So is we gonna keep talking about it? Oh, this, because guess what? It's plenty of quarterbacks that did the total opposite. We didn't say nothing about Big Ben when he raped 4 women.
Right.
No,
You see what I'm saying?
Peyton Manning raped
But
in
since
the
he's
college,
coming
you didn't hear
in
about it.
arrogant, we like,
Now, okay,
you have to be humble.
you think you can go wait for women and get away with it?
No.
You can't even get one.
Huh? I want to ask you a question.
That's the reality.
You don't
right?
got, see, man, y'all listen to
That's
point,
the
man.
reality.
That's the reality, bro.
So is this-
You go rate 4 women and see,
So-
white women to see where you'll be.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So do we teach you? So guess what? Do we teach our kids?
We talking about folks with money.
So
Yeah.
what are we talking when you say step
What-
back?
yeah,
what do
step back from what? What are you saying?
So that's our reality for the rest of the
I'm gonna teach
generation.
my kids.
26,
Right.
17.
Yeah, I'm gonna teach.
So if we teaching our kids to go over the limit
Yeah.
or stay right under,
no, you.
that's the
When
status.
you get your shot, you do what you're supposed to do.
When we get our shot.
But you gotta get
So-
in the door. You got if
So we still creeping in
so-
the, so we still creeping in the door, man.
So if
That's the reality.
That's what
I'm not saying keep it there. I'm not saying keep the bar
Well, yeah.
like you just said.
Yeah.
Oh, they want the black guy to step back and take all them hits. My ability,
Right.
I don't need to do that because
No.
I'm not like this guy,
Right.
right? And so, but until he get in the game, until he get the starting job, he's in that shoe none of that.
so you saying
Have a
his talent, y'all
silent
basically,
tongue.
you telling me his talent was 5th round?
Yeah.
No, no.
Then
Again, I'm just dealing with the
I'm just
reality.
saying.
The reality is we know he wasn't no 5th round talent.
Exactly.
But the reality is they got the keys and they say we gonna make you get drafted wherever we want you to get
still
drafted.
got power.
It's their league.
I agree with you
So
saying
we
that,
don't like it.
I agree with that too.
If we don't like it, let's go make our own league. Guess what? If all the talented black young men say, hey, we ain't going to the NFL, we finna look at all the athletes we got. Hey, let's get together, put $1 billion together, and let's go make our own league.
You know what? And that
But
ain't
every
right.
time that happens, look, but that's the thing, because we individuals. Right?
No, I'm saying.
Like old boy. What's
Go
old boy?
ahead, finish your point.
I love old boy. The daddies. I'm for the black daddies, but like LeVar Ball, I was like all over it, right?
Yeah.
And everybody, oh man, he talk too much. He do that, right? But what was he talking about? Building your own brand, doing it your own way, right? And with nobody. For all the athletes out there, would nobody get behind them?
Yep.
Why? Because they got the individual mindset. And it's
But then,
hey, yes, he go. He go big baller, baby.
I love LeVar Ball. Get
Hey,
everything, man.
but the thing is, sometimes it's the person delivering the message. It ain't the message, it's how you
Well,
deliver
but
it.
they gonna ostracize whoever.
Any
You know
black
what?
man that's overpowered. Look at Serena Williams' father.
Yeah, they get him out the picture.
They nagged him,
They want him out the picture. Cause that's where it's at.
The Jackson, you nag Joe Jackson.
Right.
When the Jacksons started going wacko,
Yeah.
it's after they left Joe Jackson.
Yeah.
He had them under control.
Exactly.
They don't want a strong black father
But
being
here
in
it
charge of making their decisions for them.
That's where it's at.
But this is what
community. That's where what our community need. That's exactly where it is,
But
right?
here-
And you know that's where it is because that's where they attack, right?
Exactly.
How many basketball players that got their kids into the league and they know the scouts and they got this?
Yeah.
But LeBron James is the face of, oh, look at this nepotism. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Why? Right? Everybody else is doing it, right? So anytime you tap into what the real answer is, that's where the opposition comes. They don't care if you out there with the chains and you out here doing this and you all for yourself. They don't care. But if you talking about building brand and you talking about like Dion at first, hey, bringing everybody over to the HBCUs or doing this shit, like they don't want that. I think Colorado showed up and said, hey man, come on over here, right?
Okay.
Because if all these black athletes start going to HBCUs, well, guess what? They ain't gonna have the money, they ain't gonna have the TV contracts, they ain't gonna have none of that stuff. And so what they do is they pull those guys away,
Yeah.
and then they pay them and shut them up. They pay them and say, oh no, we don't want you doing that because that's the real change, right? Going way back to the civil rights movement, they were like, look at these black folks getting together. Who was funding all these people, right? The black community was, the black home was. So then they came in, they said, guess what? Ain't no more black daddies. We finna get them up out of it because they the ones funding the change. So you always can find out what's the real
Issue.
way to fix the issue by what they attack, right? So they tear down the black home, they tear down the people that.
Okay, and
Like taking Bill. Take Bill Cosby for instance. If Bill don't decide that he gonna buy NBC, Bill never goes to jail.
Yeah, true.
True that.
Bill never goes to jail.
Yeah, they take that money from him.
But see, we allowed you to make this money. Now you didn't save your money. Now you want to own the station.
Michael Jackson same way.
So you want. So you feel like you on our level.
Yeah.
But you know what the thing is, I get all y'all points, but the thing is, for us to move up and everything, I totally agree with you, but who's gonna take the sacrifice to do it?
It takes time. Somebody got to
Because somebody's gonna have to take the bullet
Somebody got to take
to
the
do it.
We ain't got
Black
that
Panthers,
leadership.
we
no
all
more.
went
We
up
don't
and
have
we
that
did
leadership.
that. We all did it, but guess what? Huey, he took the bullet.
Took the bullet.
To separate us.
King
Malcolm
took
X
the bullet. Malcolm
wanted
X
to get a
took the bullet.
skeleton. He took the bullet. Who's gonna be willing to take the sacrifice?
And
You
see-
got a lot of these young cats that want to be football players and everything. We tell them, hey, don't follow that route. All right, you ain't gonna get this money. Is he gonna be willing to take that sacrifice?
Right.
That's the main thing.
Kaepernick started doing that, and
Yeah.
they shut him up.
And he shut him up.
They
So
shut up any black
When he
leader
played
that
the unions.
that we
so
started.
Hodges,
Yeah.
the other one.
We so
I've just seen
right,
that
we
thing on
so
Hodges.
finicky and we so
And we
off
jump on
that
the
we don't
people's
even
side.
we don't even know that what they doing. We don't even know how to continue through that, right? And so it's just like, or it's just like, okay, basketball. We got the guy. What's the guy? East Chicago. What's the guy? The guy that just died with all the money.
Oh, Rich.
Right.
Okay.
Why is we not promoting this guy? Right now, whether or not he, I don't know all the history, whatever. Whether or not he born in the city or whatever like that, but like we gonna promote the NBA player, right? And we gonna say, oh, son, this is what you need to be, right? When we know that the path to that is slim to none. Not to say we can't do it, but this is a slim to none path, right? Why is that elevation not on, hey man, this man wasn't even making no money when he was in the NBA. He barely making some money, right?
And as a matter of fact, if you ask anybody around, name the top 5 richest NBA players, his name never came up.
Yeah,
But
He was.
he's number 3, I think.
that's it, right?
Probably two.
And played when he wasn't even making no money,
No.
right? And so that's what I'm saying.
And
like,
he was a 6 man. He wasn't a starter.
right, we put the emphasis on in the wrong place because that's where they want us to put the emphasis on. They want you,
But look the other
they
way.
want your son to want to be like
Mike.
X, Y, and Z, the one out here, you know, with all the women, all the baby mamas, all the chains, all the money, right? They don't want you knowing about this guy that was over here quietly building the empire, right? Because that's the stuff that's gonna change the community, right? And
Okay,
so,
but this is what they don't want. As all of us are black men up in here, even you young fellas, when we send our sons out the house, I always told my son, you can't be the same level as the
You gotta be
You
10
gotta
times
be
better.
2 steps better, because whatever they do, they gonna knock you down, try to knock you down to their level, but you still gonna be ahead of them. I said, you can't just go out there and be mediocre. You got to, your game has got to be more. You know, don't settle. Well, I did 5 points, and that's just as good as Billy over here. Billy got the one thing you ain't gonna never have. This.
Yeah, he got that.
And he gonna get a pass. You know why? Because his daddy probably is friends with the bank. You know, his daddy owns such and such. If you ever watch, they told us back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, go to school, get your degree, blah, blah, blah. While they was telling little Billy, don't worry about it. You ain't even got to finish high school. Because we going to bring you in this apprenticeship, and you're going to come out of high school, and you're going to be making $35 an hour.
See, but that still goes back, we never had capitalism.
Yeah. But they always holler about nepotism. They've been doing it for years. My sister used to be do social work or whatever over there. She said it was something shut down, and they brought in a bunch of white people because they had to relearn. He said 5 or 6 of them couldn't even read. Yeah. But yet they're making like $50 an hour. Yeah. Ain't never went to college. It's because his daddy was the foreman or whatever, and he said, just come on in. And you got a friend? Come on in. Right. We sitting there and our first thought is, we go to college. What's college? It's a debt. Yeah. So you 30,000 or whatever behind the hole. Yeah. This dude is almost making 80, 90,000 and can't read a book. Right. Yeah. But that doesn't matter.
That's where our reality
no debt.
That's where our reality is. I don't shy away from it. I think it made us all who we are, right? Yeah. Right. I'm proud of the fact that, hey, when I look at my boys, I know that they're gonna have to work 10 times harder than anybody else to get something.
That's beautiful.
Because that's gonna make you who you're supposed to be, right? Yeah. And so we complain about, it ain't fair, it ain't right. No, embrace that. That's what we got.
But you don't stop.
Yeah, right. Embrace that. But then you gotta turn around and make the pipeline, right? You gotta turn around and be in the position to hand the next person up, right?
And that's what
somebody's got to be willing to take the bullets, right?
That's what we missing. Nobody wants.
But the one thing y'all missing: black people do not know how to stick together.
That's by design.
They want us to be divided.
That's